Oh. 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 Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sairam everyone. Just to set the context for the class, just as you all know, we are studying the Bhaja Govindam verses which Adi Shankaracharya has composed, he and his students. Swami had picked up about 16 of them specifically and discoursed on them during the 1973 Summer course in Vrindavan. And we are on the 12th verse which Swami had picked up today. The order in which Swami has picked them up is not necessarily the same order in which they are present in the publications available on Bhaja Govindam. So there is some variation in how Swami has presented them to us. So we are actually following the order in which Swami has presented to us. At the end of which we will cover the rest of the verses to complete the Bhaja Govindam for ourselves. Okay, so I will get into the verse which have been picked for today. Artham anartham bhavaya nityam nasti tatah sukha leshah satyam putradapi dhana bhajam bhitihi sarvatraisha vihita ritihi. Artham anartham bhavaya nityam nasti tatah sukha leshah satyam putradapi dhana bhajam bhitihi sarvatraisha vihita ritihi. Artham anartham bhavaya nityam nasti tatah sukha leshah satyam putradapi dhana bhajam bhitihi sarvatraisha vihita ritihi. Just to point out some letters from a pronunciation perspective. If you take the first line, artham anartham, the tha which appears twice in this compound word is a aspirated consonant. That means there has to be extra air or stress placed on the pronunciation of the letter. That is, this tha is the second letter in the tha varga or tha class of sounds in Sanskrit. So it's artha manartha. Okay, artham manartham. The next word is bhavaya. The first letter bha is the fourth letter in the per varga or per class of consonants. It has to be aspirated also with little bit of extra air. Bha. Okay. Bhavaya nityam. Nasti tatah, no aspirated consonants. Sukha. This ka is the second letter in the ka vargo, ka class of consonants. It has to be aspirated. Sukha lesha satyam. If we take the third line, putradabi, dha. This dha is the fourth letter in the third varga, third class of sounds. It also has to be aspirated. So it's dhana. Okay, dhana. And the next third letter is bha. Bha is again similar to bhavya. It's the fourth letter in the pa varga, so it has to be aspirated. Bhajam. Then the last word is bhitihi. There also the bha has to be aspirated. It's the fourth letter in the pa varga. So it's bhitihi. Okay, bhitihi. The last line, there are no aspirated consonant, but I will just point out sarvatraisha. The sha is a cerebral sha, so the tip of the tongue should point upwards. It should be bent and pointed upwards. So it's a cerebral sha. Okay. Those are the points to pay attention to while pronouncing the words. And now we will look at the word split. Wherever there is a sandhi, we will split it and see what the individual words are. Okay. So if you take the first word, it's a compound word. There are two words actually, artham and anartham. This and becomes ma, so that's how you get artham manartham. But it's artham, anartham when the words are split. The other two, there are no changes. The second line, the first word is actually there are three words actually put together. Nasti tatha, okay, which is actually na, asti, and tatha. Na plus asti becomes nasti. Okay. Asti tatha, there are no changes. They are put together as one word. Sukha lesha is actually a compound word, but it is not brought together by two distinct sounds, distinct words. It's an internal sandhi, if you want to put it that way. I've just put a dash so that when we look at the meaning, we will understand it better. Satyam. If you take the next line, putradapi is made up of two words, putrat and api. Okay, this it becomes id because of sandhi, and id plus a becomes the. Okay, it becomes id and a together makes it the. Okay, putradapi. But when they split, it's putrat and api. The next word is also, I put a dash, just it's an internal sandhi, you can say dhana bhaja. It's a samasa. Samasa are compound words brought, which are produced by two words combining, and the meaning can be multiple. Okay, which these are called samasas. Okay, dhana bhajam. Okay, we look at it's one word for all practical purposes, but there are two distinct components to that word. If you look at the fourth line, sarvatraisha is split into sarvatra esha. Okay, tra and a becomes trai. Tra e, trai. Sarvatra esha are the two distinct words. There are no changes to the last two words of that line. So now that we have split the words and have the individual words, let's look at the word-to-word meaning. Let's look at the first word, artham. Artham, for this particular verse, the meaning is wealth. But artham, as you know, there can be other meanings also. Artham can be the purpose of any endeavor, also is artham. Artham also can be a meaning. Meaning of a word is also artham. But in this case, we have picked up the word meaning wealth. Okay. The second word is anartham. Anartham is actually an opposite word of artham. A negation of artham is anartham. But the meaning which I have picked up is danger. Okay, anartham means something bad can happen. Okay, something bad which happens is anartham. But anartham also can be means something without a meaning. Meaningless also anartham. So depending on the context, some of the meanings change, because when we look at the meaning of a word in a particular verse, we should look at the entire verse and derive and pick and choose the meaning which applies in this whole context. Okay. So in that sense, I've used the word artham as wealth and anartham as danger. Bhavaya. Oh, I see. Bhavaya. Wait 1 second. I didn't realize that I didn't type the meaning also. I would say consider. Okay. That's the meaning. Okay. So bhavaya is a verb, an imperative word, it's something which tells somebody to do something. Bhavaya means consider. Okay. Consider wealth as danger. Okay. Bhavaya. Artham, anartham, bhavaya. Okay. You consider wealth as danger. Okay. Consider wealth as danger. Nityam. Nityam means always. So the first line says, always consider wealth as something which is dangerous. Okay. Then we'll go to the next line, actually, Nasti Tata. Nasti, as I split, it's na plus asti. Na means not, a negation. Asti means that is something which exists or does exist is called asti. So if you say nasti, does not exist. In English, that's the way construction will be. Does not exist. It means nasti. Okay, what does not exist? Let's see. Tataha. Tataha means from that. You can say from there. From where? From artham. From wealth, something does not exist. Let's see what does not exist. Okay, tataha means from that or from there or there from. Does not exist. Sukha leshaha. Sukha and leshaha. Sukha means happiness, contentment, comfort, all that is sukha. Lesha means very little bit. Very little bit. Okay. So even a little bit of happiness does not exist from artham. Okay. Which is satyam. That is the truth. The real truth is that not even a small portion of happiness exists there, in that. That is in artham. The word leshaha, I think many are in Tamil, like in other languages also it must be similar. In Tamil we'll say lesa, something means superficially or little bit. And that's it. So the word lesa, in Tamil which we use actually comes from this Sanskrit word lesha. Means a little bit. So they'll say you apply something கொஞ்சம் லேசா தடவு, so that means you apply very little bit. Okay, so what the Bhaja Govindam verse is saying is not even that much of happiness exists in wealth. Even a little bit does not exist. What exists is danger. Then let's go to the third line. Putrat api. Putra. Putra means son. Putra means son. It also includes daughters also. Okay, means children, you can say. A child is putra. Putrat is the fifth form, noun form. It's called fifth vibhakti or panchami vibhakti, which means from son, from your child, or from your daughter, whichever way you want to put. Okay. Api, even from a son. Okay, what happens even from him? Dhana bhajam. Dhana means wealth, money is dhana. Bhajam means to separate, divide, distribute. Okay. Dhana bhajam, in trying to divide wealth. Or bhajam also can mean possessing. When you possess also, that's also bhaja. Okay, that means you have a lot and you are spending it. That is also bhaja. That comes from the word bhaj also, you can say. So it can be derived as something which we cherish or which you are going to treasure. If you treasure wealth, okay, or you distribute wealth. In either case, even from your children or son or daughter, bhitihi, fear. So when you divide wealth or when you possess wealth, there's potential fear from even your children. Okay, even your child can cause fear to, there are so many stories in real life also. We have seen how children, for the sake of money, would hurt their parents or argue, fight. All this happens. Okay, bhitihi. The next word is sarvatra. Sarvatra means everywhere. Sarvatra means everywhere. Esha. Esha means this. This, whatever has been described, this fact, this truth. Vihita, laid down. Or you can say practiced. Everywhere this is practiced. Or it's in practice. Ritihi, this rule. Or you can say this is the law. Also you can say Riti can also mean this is the prescribed law. See, and they will say law of gravity. Law of gravity means everything will fall down. So it's an indisputable fact. Vihita Riti means it's an indisputable fact in English, you can say. So anywhere in this world you go, this is an indisputable law. That is what we will encounter. It's a natural law. That is, wealth can be dangerous. It does not even have a little bit of joy or happiness or comfort. Even from your children, there will be a sense of fear when there's a lot of money or when the money has to be divided and distributed. And this is a fact, indisputable fact in this world, anywhere we go. That's what the verse says. So there is a certain implied meaning to this, because we should look at it. You see, Swami gives the example of dharma or self-confidence, which is the foundation. Then Swami says self-satisfaction is the wall. So the same way, when the walls will not be standing firm if there is no foundation. Without the foundation, if you raise the walls can collapse and you can die. So that's why in Purushartha, or the fourfold purposes of life, dharma, artha, kama, moksha is there. Swami always says dharma has to be the foundation on which we should earn wealth and spend wealth. The artha, wealth, accumulation as well as spending, should be bound by dharma. So the foundation should be there. Only then it will not become dangerous. Though artha is one of the purposes of human life, so that we have self-satisfaction. So you can self-confidence is dharma. Self-satisfaction is artha. For, if you are hungry, you have to earn something to fill your stomach. That's how you can satisfy your hunger. For that, artha is needed. So the same way, kama, desire, without having the goal of moksha, it can become dangerous also. Okay, so I will not diverge. We will look at what Swami has said. We will read the entire discourse. This is again a full transliteration of the discourse. Thanks to one of our attendees in the class who has taken it upon herself to transcribe it, which is pretty useful. So let's go through. So that way you may find an abridged version in the Sanat Samashavas, but this is the transcription from the audio, discourse audio file. You must always be cautious about wealth. Wealth should be regarded as potentially harmful. Even if you do not have wealth, truth will give you happiness. A wealthy person sometimes gets afraid even of his own son. One must tread the path of truth. This is the verse which Swami sang. Actually, Swami has composed Telugu poems for each of these verses. There will be another time because this is a Sanskrit class. I have not brought that. The Telugu poem of Swami. But so this is the gist of that poem by Swami. Pavitratma Swarupas. Students. Man's condition and status is not governed by his wealth, money, or material possessions. It depends only on the qualities that man exhibits. Truth is the most important thing. Money and wealth do not matter at all. Man should take great care to follow the divine path. It is in this context that the last disciple of Sri Shankara by the name Sumati gave this particular verse. Man's life is a mixture of what happens in this world and what happens in the other world. Man pins his faith on what he sees in this world. He forgets that there is another spiritual aspect which he has to take care. He spends his life in this manner with a view to attain some final result. Only when we regard the four purusharthas, dharma, artha, wealth, kama, desire, and moksha, liberation, dharma as the primary basis, moksha as the final destination. Then alone the others, artha and kama, will also attain the significance that is due to them. We forget today the basis and the objective, and we are spending our life in simply thinking of what remains in the middle, namely artha and kama. If we can divide these four, dharma, artha, kama, and moksha, into two parts, and after dividing them into two parts, if we take the determination to lead our life in a sacred manner, it will then become possible for us to establish the sacred Indian culture. So, today, if we wish to make a proper inquiry into these four purusharthas, we realize that dharma is the basis or the feet, moksha is the destination. The objective or the head, the neglect by destination, the object. Moksha is the destination, objective, or the head. By neglecting the feet and the head and throwing them away, we are simply thinking only of artha and kama. By dividing them into these four parts, there is a possibility of our getting into confusion. But if we divide them into two parts, then this possibility of getting into confusion will not exist. If these four, we divide them into two, putting dharma and artha together and kama and moksha together, then our life will become meaningful. Of dharma and artha, if we regard that artha is intended for leading a righteous life, a dharmic life, and on the kama and moksha, if we understand that kama, the attachment, is intended only for moksha, liberation, then there will be no confusion at all. Today, man is using wealth in his life in a manner that will result in wasting his life. If on the other hand, you can use the wealth for the purpose of leading a life along the righteous path, then that will be using wealth properly. You should get rid of sin. You should have in your mind whatever is good. In this manner, using wealth for the purpose of dharma, you'll be able to reach the divine. We are thinking that this wealth which we have can be used for good in the present world as well as for purposes of liberation. This is not so. If you can use your wealth for good purposes, then alone it will have some meaning. If you use it for bad purposes, it will give you considerable amount of trouble and it will take away the peace of mind which you are likely to have. We should not regard this word dharma as having something to do with the world and as having something to do with matters of equalness in this world. We should regard it as having a direct relation with the realization of the divine Atma and the realization of the oneness in this divine Atma. According to our Indian culture, these qualities, namely giving charity and leading a righteous life, these things have a direct relation with the oneness of the Atma. A small example for this. In one place, sometimes we see a deep pit, and in the neighborhood of that deep pit, we also see a big mound of mud. We apparently see a very big difference between this deep pit and the mound of mud. But when we look into it carefully and see that this mound of mud can fill that deep pit, then both of them look alike. In the same manner, when you look at a rich man or a wealthy man, he will be comparable to a big mound of mud. When you look at another poor man, he will be comparable to a deep pit. When you put this rich man and this poor man together and equalize their wealth, then they become equal. This charity, the principle of charity and the principle of righteous conduct are therefore involved in our Indian culture in order that we may realize the equality between people. This palace of our country, of Bharata, this depends upon four matas. Okay? Matas, actually, sorry. Four matas. They are Bhumata, or the earth, the Veda Mata, or the Vedas, Deha Mata, or the country, and the Go Mata, or the cow. These four matas are like pillars for the palace of our country. These four can be also referred to as four: Satya, Dharma, Shanti, and Prema. These four cardinal principles are such that with Satya or truth, we have to safeguard the world. With Dharma, we have to safeguard the Vedas. With Shanti or peace, we have to look after the Gomata or cow. With prema or love, we have to look after other fellow human beings. Satyam nasti paro dharmaha, which means there's no other dharma greater than Satyam. For our country, for Bharat, we should regard these two things, Satya, truth, and Dharma, righteous conduct, as the two eyes of our country. It is only when our motherland, the great mother, has these two eyes, Satya and Dharma, she can look at her children, the people of the country, and care for them. If, however, by our behavior we make her blind and somehow remove these two eyes for our mother, how can she look after her children? What is being referred to as man's righteous conduct, Manava Dharma, we should make an attempt to go out all the way and promote it in our country. Not only promote it, we should help people put it into practice in the world. When we look at poor people, when we look at helpless people, or when we look at weak people, with all our strength and effort, we should be prepared to give them as much help as we possibly can. The reason for the necessity of adopting such an attitude is that all human beings are brothers. All human beings are children of one mother, the mother of this country, of this world. Therefore, we must be able to develop this brotherhood and help all human beings. However, today we are accepting paths which are contradictory to this dictum. As a result of wealth, man is changing into a demon. As a result of wealth or dhana, man is changing into a demon or dhanava. As a result of money, one becomes very proud. When one has wealth, he is not inclined to follow the righteous path. He will also lose, as a result of wealth, his capacity to distinguish right from wrong. This has been described by the poet Vemana by saying, if your money increases, then you will become very arrogant. And if your arrogance increases, your bad qualities come up and they will increase. He goes on further to say that if your wealth diminishes, then your arrogance will also diminish. If your arrogance diminishes, then your bad qualities will also disappear. This is the sequence described by Vemana, the poet. However, this does not apply to all people. We know as a matter of common knowledge in our country that there are many good people who are wealthy and who with their wealth do many good things. In our country, in India, there are many sacred places of pilgrimage. There are many places where people go and have a holy bath. There are places where there are temples. There are places where poor people are fed permanently. These kinds of things have been established only by rich people in our country. In this country, which has acquired such a sacred reputation, this disciple of Shankara explained with the top of his voice that everyone in this country should make good use of his wealth. Before realizing the need for equal-mindedness, at one time, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa gave some importance to things like wealth and possession. One day, the principal disciple of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, that was Narendra or Vivekananda, wanted to test Ramakrishna. So he kept some gold coins under the bed of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. Immediately, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa got up and he felt as if his whole body was burning. The inner meaning of the story is that he is still having a feeling that it is gold or that it is some special type of metal or there is some special type of mud with differing values. So long as he has that feeling, it means that he has not realized equality or he has not got over these differences. At that moment, he was still distinguishing between gold, between alloy, and between mud. But later on, when Ramakrishna could hold mud in one hand and gold in the other hand and keep on exchanging them, saying, "This is mud, this is gold, this is mud, this is gold." At that time, he got over the feeling of having difference between these two, and he realized equality or oneness of these things. While it's quite possible for such realized people to know the oneness of these things in their behavior or in their aspects, but for others, for common people who have to carry on their daily lives and who have responsibilities for their family, for them there is a distinction between money and mud. They cannot think both of them are the same in common daily practice. But the inner meaning in his own idea, in his mind, there should not be difference between these two. By the possession of money, for some people, some crooked ideas also begin to sprout in their minds. Those of you who are students of history can understand this very well. Queen Victoria was ruling over her kingdom for many, many years. She had a son who was rather impatient at the long period of reigning of Victoria. He wanted to get on the throne. Therefore, in an open meeting, he went to this queen and asked her, "How long are you going to reign? When will you die?" She at once found that this man was very ambitious, and she ordered that he be put in prison. He was a ruler only for a very short time, even if he is a son. Because of his desire for money and position, he has not given any respect for the feeling to a mother. There's a small story in our Upanishads which tells us how the possession of wealth will change the qualities of some people. One mother had only one son. Had an only son. One mother had an only son. The father died when he was very young. The mother had a considerable amount of wealth. Because of this wealth, the son, as he grew older and older, he developed bad habits. He got into bad company. He started doing things which one should not do. In fact, he looked like a mad fellow. He was wasting his life. The world is also like this today. If you have a large quantity of water in a tank, many frogs will come into the tank. But once the tank begins to dry up, then all the frogs will disappear. They won't even tell you when they will go and where they will go. They will all disappear in the same manner. As long as there is wealth with you, so many friends will come to you. But the moment wealth disappears, these friends, without even telling you when and where they go, they all disappear. In this manner, the son of the wealthy mother accumulated a large number of bad friends. This has crossed all acceptable limits. Today, many people in our country are spending their life in this manner and wasting it without understanding the purpose of life. The son used to come day after day to the mother and would ask her that he wanted so much money. He wants some more money. And as a result of this, because every day he's demanding money, the mother's affection towards the son started diminishing day after day. And not only that, she developed a positive hatred towards the son. The mother was feeling very sorry in herself, but as days went on, the feeling of her being a mother of that boy had completely disappeared. In the boy, the feeling that he was the son of that woman had also completely disappeared. She thought that it is much better that such a son who brings down the honor and reputation of the parents dies rather than stays. Therefore, she had a plan one day. At the same time, the son had his own plan. The son thought that the mother was coming in the way of his enjoying pleasures and using the wealth. So it's much better that such a mother disappears rather than stays as an obstacle for his pleasure. One day, the son had a plan to have a very strong iron rod in his hand, and he wanted to kill the mother as the mother came and served him his food. On the same day, the mother also thought that she should get rid of the son, and she prepared the food with some poison in it, and she wanted to give this poison food to the son so that he may die. At the same instant, when she came to serve the poison food, the son used a rich iron rod and killed her. In moments, he ate the poison food and he also died. So both mother and son died. This is what the wealth has done. The wealth that was existing between them has resulted in killing the mother and the son. Both of them at the same time. Wealth is intended, wealth, is it intended to bring such bad ideas? Mother has lost her affection for the son, and the son has lost his affection for the mother. This is what the possession of wealth has done. We should not regard wealth as the most important thing in our life. We should regard dharma as the most important thing in our life, thereby earn the grace of God. Not that you should not have money. You should have money, but only what is needed as an essential amount. Anything more than that, you should use for good purposes, like giving charity and like helping poor people. Today, amongst the students, we do see many opportunities and many situations by which they get spoiled on account of excessive possession of money. In the first instance, it may look to them that it is very difficult to get on with the minimum amount of money that's necessary. But if they can control their desire for having more and more money, then as their life progresses, in future they'll be able to do very well. Today, when students want to go and ask money from their parents, if they really need 10 rupees, then they prepare themselves to ask for 20 rupees. In that context, it is very necessary that the parents, when they are asked when they are asked to give 20 rupees by the children, they should give only 10 rupees. The son, just at that moment when he got only 10 rupees, as he asked for 20 rupees, may feel hurt. Even though he feels hurt momentarily, later on, that will give him the necessary strength. On the other hand, if he got the 20 rupees in return for asking for 20 rupees when he needed only 10, he will use those 10 rupees for fulfilling his need. The excess 10 rupees he will use to gather some bad friends, go to a cinema, or do some bad things like that. Because our students, those who have assembled here, are not like that, there's no need to expatiate on this. There is a small example for this. On a Saturday, a father was engaged in worshipping the Lord, and he called his son and told him to get some plantains from the market for 1 rupee. This son was indeed a good boy. He went to the market, he purchased bananas for this 1 rupee, and he was returning. But on the way, he saw a mother and son who were very hungry and were standing on the road. This hungry mother and son saw the bananas in the hands of the boy who was going home. The hungry son at once ran and asked for the bananas so that he may relieve his hunger. But the mother from behind found that he was doing something wrong and pulled the boy back. Both of them were so hungry that they fell down on the door. This young man found that it was much better to feed these hungry people, so he gave all the bananas in his hand to the mother and son. Not only that, he went to a tap and brought some water and gave the water to the mother and son to relieve their thirst. He went home empty-handed. The mother and son, after eating and drinking water, they were so grateful to the boy and told him so many good things. They were so happy. The tears of happiness flowed from their eyes. This young student, when he saw this particular vision, when tears of happiness were flowing, he was so impressed that he got the particular thing imprinted in his heart. This boy went home empty-handed. The father asked him if he had brought the banana. The son said, "Yes, I have brought the bananas." The father said, "Where are they? Give them to me." The son replied, that the bananas which he brought are such that you will not be able to see them. They are a very special type. They will never get rot. They are sacred and they are my permanent possessions. Then the father asked, what do you mean? The son explained that he fed two hungry souls with the bananas in his hand. The resulting sacred feeling which he got are the new bananas. These are the sacred fruits of my action in having fed those two hungry souls. The father then felt that the son was worthy of all praise, and he thought that his prayers had been answered that day. He thought that his life became very purposeful in that he had such a worthy son. The father and son from that day developed a great affection for each other, and they came much closer to each other than was possible at all. Such a closeness between father and son are very rare today. If only you can develop in your minds this feeling of closeness to your parents, you can then convert our country into a Tyaga Bhumi, a Yoga Bhumi, a Dharma Bhumi, and into a great country with great traditions. Then if we ask ourselves, what is the kind of relationship that exists between parents in our country? I have to tell you another story. From an outside country, a a father and a son have been coming on foot wanting to enter our country, Bharata. On the way, owing to some difficulties, and since he did not have sufficient food, and on account of various other situations, the father died. The mother, along with her 8-year-old son, together entered Bharata. In one of our cities, she was going around from house to house and begging for food. On the day when she got sufficient food, she used to give food first to her 8-year-old son. If something was left, she ate. If nothing was left, she gave food to the son and she herself went hungry. In this manner, as she was getting on in her life, she was not getting sufficient food day after day. She was getting less and less food. The food which she got, she was giving amply only to the son. She herself was starving. On account of starvation, she developed a bad disease. Mother became so weak that she could not even get up and walk. This 8-year-old son went to the mother, touched her feet, and said, please, you do not have to go and beg. I shall now go hereafter and beg and bring food. In our country, no mother will bear to see her son go and beg. But when this boy came and asked for permission to go and beg, it was an inescapable situation and the mother could do nothing. So she had to agree very reluctantly for the boy to go and beg for food. The boy went from house to house for some days. He begged for food, brought some food, and first fed the mother. And if something was left, he used to eat. Not only that, on the days when nothing was left, when the mother questioned him, he used to tell a lie and say that something was left and that he did take some food. In this manner, he was spending days. As things went on in this manner, the health of the son started deteriorating. One day he went to the house of a prominent officer for begging. The officer was sitting on an easy chair in his veranda and reading a newspaper. With a very feeble voice, he asked, Bhavati Bhiksham Dehi, I have come here to beg for food. The house owner looked at him and said, you seem to be very weak. I will go inside and serve some food in a leaf and bring it here so that you may eat. He went in and brought the food. By the time the owner came out, he found that this boy fell down. The boy was murmuring some words which were not audible. So the officer wanted to find out what he was saying and put his ear close to his mouth. He learned that the boy was murmuring, please, it doesn't matter even if I die. My mother has to have her food. Please send this food to my mother. Please send this food to my mother. So saying, he died. Our motherland, our country, which had experienced such affection between mother and son, and the affection running through our blood. In such a country, every individual had experienced this affection. But today, alas, the relationship between mother and son has become so bad that one dare not say what its situation is. Divyatma Swarupas. We have the saying, Matrudevo Bhava, Pitrudevo Bhava. You must remember that the mother and father are equal to the divine, are like gods. You must put these sacred ideas into practice, not only understand their meaning, but into daily practice. In India, the first thing to be respected is mother and father. Mother and father have not only given their blood to us in giving birth to us, but sometimes, many times, they even starve, they borrow or beg. They somehow or other get you what you need. Therefore, in your minds, you must develop for the future respect for your mother and father. This tells you that if today you respect your father and mother, tomorrow, when you become parents, your children will respect you. Yad bhavam tat bhavati. The ideas that you have in your mind will be the ideas that will come back to you as fruit. In the future, if in future you want to enjoy happiness, pleasure, and bliss, then even now in this young age, you must do good, you must be good, do good, and see good. This is the way to God. You must respect elders, you must show great affection and attachment to your mother and father. This is the way you will have to follow if you want to reach God. Do not forget God, do not fear death. With these two ideas in your mind, you should become a hero. You should get the standing that you are a heroic son of the country. Our wealth is a wealth of righteousness. Our wealth is a wealth of knowledge and wisdom. That is the reason why Arjuna was called Dhananjaya. Dhananjaya does not mean that he has got so much wealth. It simply means that he has got the wealth of jnana, of proper conduct, of good conduct. And that's the reason why Arjuna had several titles: Arjuna, Parthiva, and so on. There are three words which we have to take note of. All the three words begin with the letter W. They are work, worship, and wisdom. Work is the kind of sacred work which you should do for the prosperity of the world, for the prosperity of the country, for the prosperity. Work is the kind of sacred work which you should do for the prosperity of the world, for the prosperity of the country. You should always do good work. You should not spend time in doing bad work. Worship is something which is connected with a pure mind, and you must have your prayers very clean. Wisdom is the acquisition of jnana. You must be able to acquire knowledge and wisdom. These are the three things which will enable you to lead a proper life. On the other hand, there are also three words which all begin with W, which you have to avoid. They are wealth, women, and wine. They also begin with W. They will, if adapted, take you to the barbarous depths and will make you fall down. You should avoid these three. Students, some of you at least, if not all, must take this sacred path. Like the disciples of Shankara, who have proclaimed the importance of Satya, those of you who can take such path will follow and will resuscitate Indian culture. You must put these things into good practice and have bliss and happiness. I hope and I bless you that you will be able to do this. So Sairam everyone, that was a long discourse. So Swami, discourse number 17th from 1973, Samashavas, explaining the import of the verse which we studied, which today, Artham Anartham Bhavya Nityam, Nasti Tata Sukalesha Satyam, Putradapi Dana Bhajam Bhitihi, Sarvatresha Vihita Riti. So with that, I will stop. I think there. Stop here if there are any questions or any comments. If any of you. I think Swami has nicely explained what the verse means and how it should. Swami has, as you can see, Swami has taken each word, like Satyam itself, Swami took and explained. Satyam, Dharma. Also, you can see. Saira. So I think if everyone is okay, then we'll close the session with Samasta Loka and meet next week with the next verse which Swami has spoken. Okay, Sairam. Om Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.